For nearly 2,000 years, Jews and Christians have been divided. But now, God is calling for the healing of past hurts and the comforting of His people. Discover how God is prophetically uniting Jews and Christians across the world today on The Crossover. And now, here is your host, Mitch Jerome.
Rabbi Feldman, welcome to The Crossover. We're glad you're taking the time out from this conference to spend some time with us.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
I heard you speak a little bit, and I know you were raised in Russia, and you even said that as an atheist you were raised in Russia, and you never even heard the word Bible or the Torah or the Hebrew language, or that there was even a chosen people or promises for Israel. And today you are the rabbi of a congregation in Florida. Whoa, you went from patriot, communist, to a rabbi in a free world. What were some of the major transitions there that took place for that to happen?
It is a miraculous story in some ways. On the other hand, I think it's a story that proves once again that God has bigger plans, bigger than Stalin, bigger than Karl Marx, bigger than Soviet Empire. The Soviets made a lot of mistakes. I think one of the major mistakes was the fact that Stalin in the 30s decided to stamp people's passports, ID cards, with a line 5 that was called nationality. So I grew up there as a good Soviet communist, believed in communism and believed that I had a goal in life to destroy capitalism and America and so on. However, I was reminded constantly that I was different. I was a Jew, even though I didn't understand what it meant. But it said so. So I knew as a kid I could never become a journalist, I could never become a diplomat, I could never become a principal of a high school just because I was Feldman. And I didn't know why, but in a way, there was like, I was stuck in a situation where eventually at some point, when I was in college, where I was secretly given a book called Exodus by Leon Uris, and I learned that there is a country called Israel where it's okay to be Jewish. Suddenly, that was a major transformation. So in my life, I think I have to be grateful to books. It was a book that opened my eyes to Zionism, and eventually, later on, it was a book that opened my eyes to Judaism as a religion. So I fell in love with Judaism on an intellectual level. It made sense to me. It was just beautiful, and somehow everything connected. So it's a story about survival. The Jewish people are here, have been here for almost 4,000 years, and empires come and go. But we're here to stay, absolutely. And we have a job to do. And here I am continuing what my people have been doing for thousands of years.
I've heard you use the phrase scientific atheism.
Correct.
Could you explain that to our viewers?
Scientific atheism is a subject that used to be taught to all Soviet children in high school. And I am proud to say that I'm one of the few rabbis on this planet who carries the license of scientific atheism. I was teaching Soviet children that there is no God, there cannot be a God, and only mentally sick people believe in God. And I used science to prove it, because I was a physics teacher by training. So whether I liked it or not, as a physics teacher, I had to also carry this license and teach scientific atheism, which is obviously ridiculous. It's making fun of the Bible, saying, look what they're believing in, garbage, 6 days, crazy. What are they talking about? We have scientific proof that there is no God. Mm-hmm. Besides, Yuri Alexeyevich Gagarin has been up there and he told us that God is not there. So yes, this is what I did for a living.
Now you're teaching the Torah.
That's right.
A little bit different. Explain to our viewers, we have, this show is Judaism 101. We're trying to teach Judaism to the Jewish people, the secular Jews that maybe don't go to synagogue. Mm-hmm. We're trying to teach the Christians that their roots are Hebraic. There would be no Christianity without its roots in Hebraic roots. And many times people ask, what is a Jew? Is it a race? Is it a people? Is it a culture? Is it, you come through the mother side, you're Jewish? No, you got to come through the father side. How would you define what is a Jew?
A Jew, I think, is basically, and interestingly enough, the best definition was given by a non-Jew. We have a book in the Bible called Ruth. And Ruth is the first convert to Judaism, a non-Jew who chooses to join the Jewish nation. And ever since Ruth, for thousands of years, every convert to Judaism has repeated the same line that Ruth says to her mother-in-law, Naomi. And she says, "Your people are my people. Your God is my God." Which means Judaism is a unique combination, unlike Christianity, unlike Islam and other religions. We are a religion, your God is my God, but we are also a nation, a people. So when you convert to Judaism, you convert to Jewish religion and you join the Jewish nation. That's the two must go together. Now, this is not to say that there are not millions of Jews who say, I'm a Jew, but I'm not religious, I don't observe anything. It's possible to survive maybe for one generation like this, but eventually those Jews cannot reproduce. The next generation will disappear, and we know, unfortunately, we have some 13 million Jews today. We should have been 1 billion, at least, like Chinese people, because 3,000 years ago there was approximately 3 million Jews and 3 million Chinese. We have 1.3 billion Chinese today and only 13 million Jews. Right. Now, some of them were murdered, no question about this, but not everybody. Most Jews just walked out because you cannot continue if you drop 50% of your definition. I mean, this is literally a combination of nationhood and religiosity. The same goes the other way around, by the way. There are religious Jews who don't believe in nationhood, nationality. They care only about religion. I don't think that they will survive either. You need both. That's my goal. As a rabbi, as a teacher, I try to teach secular Jews about the religious side, and I try to speak to the religious people who don't care about the secular side. The fact is that I was saved by a lot of secular Jews who were marching in the streets of New York and Miami and Boston and Chicago and Buenos Aires and Paris, who were screaming, saying, "Let my people go." They saved my life. Because of them, I'm free today. And because of them, I can become religious now. So some religious people also fought for me. There were thousands of people wearing yarmulkes. However, I suspect a lot of the Hasidim in Brooklyn were praying and keeping glad kosher, but they did not fight for me when I was in jail there. So I think the combination is crucial. We need both.
And you were in jail, I heard it used, I don't know if this is the right word, refusnik?
Refusnik.
Okay.
Refusnik is a technical term. Does not mean a hero. Does not mean, a fighter. Refusnik is basically when you decide to leave the Soviet Union. I mean, in those days. You apply, you go through a very complex and painful process of applying for an exit visa, which is obviously very threatening to the Soviet Empire. So many of us were refused the visa. Now, when you become a refusnik, you are in limbo. On one hand, you're a traitor. You want to leave the paradise. You cannot be trusted anymore. You cannot get a good job. You lose your apartment. You lose many of your friends for whom it becomes dangerous to be friends with you. On the other hand, you're stuck. They don't let you go. So they hate you, but they don't let you go at the same time. So refusnik is a term that basically over the years came to mean a fighter. Because once you become a refusnik, eventually you have to fight. Because you cannot just be an elevator man for the rest of your life with 3 PhDs. So many of us became very outspoken dissidents. And many of us, some of us, went on hunger strikes, which is the most threatening thing to a communist paradise. A hunger strike? There had not been a strike there since 1917. It's workers' paradise. What do you mean you're striking? And what do you mean you're hungry? Nobody's hungry in the Soviet Union. So that's why they arrest you right away.
And how long were you in prison for?
I was very fortunate. I spent 1 month in jail, and then they kicked me out. Gave me 2 weeks to say goodbye to my culture, my language, my friends, my family.
Others
everything.
less fortunate have been in for years, lifetime?
Somebody like Natan Sharansky spent 9 years in Siberia, and some people lost their lives and their health and so on. I was very lucky.
So there's a lot of Jewish people in Russia now, and even though you're living in the States, you've created a way to help teach and embrace the Jewish Russians here in this country. Share
Yes.
with us a little bit on that.
I created a foundation where I'm very proud to be the first conservative rabbi from the Soviet Union, but I don't want to be the only one. I'm still the only one. For obvious reasons. They brainwashed us for 75 years. So it's hard for a Soviet citizen, a scientist, successful person, sophisticated, to come to America and suddenly embrace religion. So I am desperate to help, to find young people among the immigrants who will be tempted, who will be curious enough. I have scholarships. I will put them in the right seminaries and schools and so on. I am desperate. If there is anybody out there listening, just contact this station, contact me. I am Leonid Feldman, Rabbi Feldman. You can find me on the internet. I'm in Miami Beach, Temple Emmanuel. I will help you to become a rabbi, a cantor, a teacher, because I cannot do this alone. We have 1 million former Soviet citizens in Israel. We have over 500,000 in America. We have thousands in Canada and Australia and other countries. There is desperate need. They're hungry, but nobody knows how to approach them. Only somebody who grew up there can really talk to them. An American rabbi cannot talk to them. The moment you stand up and talk about God, you lost them. They remember Gagarin. They've been brainwashed all their lives. There is a particular way to talk to them. So I hope that I am an inspiration and an example. Somebody who was a physicist, who knows the sciences. I knew Einstein, I knew Newton, and yet I believe in God. I observe the Torah.
Well, there's let's move to a little issue here on that's so prevalent right now, unfortunately, in the world: the anti-Semitism. And the Jewish people, the Jewish contribution to this world is just phenomenal. I remember looking up how many Nobel Prize winners there were from Judaism. I think is less than 0.5% of the population. I think I heard
less
you
than
say.
0.25% of the world population.
And over 100 Nobel Prize, medicine, finance, economics, theater, art, boom, 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 on and on. What a contribution. And yet, always, the hatred, the anti-Semitism now in this country is at a higher level than it's been since the Holocaust. What do we do? And you even call it a unique hatred.
There is a uniqueness to this hatred. Unfortunately, I don't believe in any of the traditional academic explanations of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is not because Jews are successful financially. When we were very poor in Europe, we were beaten up also. Anti-Semitism is not because we are different. When Jews try to assimilate and become like everybody else, we're still beaten up. Anti-Semitism is there for one reason only. Jews are here to teach morality. Jews are here to remind people how to behave as a nice human being. And those who are evil people must hate Jews. Stalin had to destroy the Jewish people. He had to, because the Jewish people constantly remind the world that there is only one God. It's not the Communist Party, it's not the Supreme Soviet, it's not the Kremlin, it's not Lenin, it's not White House, it's not Mr. Clinton, it's not Mr. Bush. There is somebody above you. That's what the Jews are here for. We are the messengers. Unfortunately, very often we forget the message. But the anti-Semites smell us. They know that as long, Hitler says this in Mein Kampf, as long as there is one Jew alive, he still is reminding the world about this despicable concept of the 10 Commandments. He says, I hate the 10 Commandments, therefore I must destroy the Jews. So anti-Semitism is a problem, and anti-Semitism partially is caused by this scapegoat theory that when economy is in bad shape, people are looking for a scapegoat, and Jews, for whatever reason, are a natural scapegoat. We're dispersed. We've been dispersed for thousands of years. So people will say, you don't belong here. What are you doing here? How come there are so many prominent Jews in Europe, in Russia, even today in Russia? It's incredible. 12 years after the fall of the Soviet Empire, some of the most powerful people in Moscow today are Jews. Some of the influential thinkers and businessmen are Jews. It's incredible. Just give us a chance, we climb up. For whatever reason, I think there are reasons for that. So anti-Semitism has to be fought. But anti-Semitism has to be fought not only by the Jews, and that's why I believe that there are no better friends and allies in this world today, on this planet, between Christians and Jews.
Yes.
Because I think the threat, anti-Semitism, is not a threat only to the Jews. They begin with the Jews, that they will go after you. Eventually, they go after the good Christians. And that's why I don't understand how a good Christian can be an anti-Semite. The two just don't go together.
No way.
We have the same goal. We want to make this world a better place.
And there's a new term now too, Rabbi. What would you say to a new form of anti-Semitism, just as vile and wicked as anti-Israel?
Anti-Zionism, anti-Israel is a very dangerous, you're absolutely correct. It's another shape, it's another form of anti-Semitism. People who say, oh, I love the Jews, I just am anti-Zionist. Basically, it's like saying, I love the Italians, I just think that they should all go to the war, to the sea, to the ocean. I mean, you cannot say that Italians deserve Italy, and Swedish people deserve Sweden, and Americans need America, but Jews belong in the sea. And say, I love the Jews. Right. That's what anti-Zionism means. Right. Zionism means that Jews deserve a piece of land, a homeland. And we happen to have, we are the only people on this planet. Americans don't have the right to America. Italians don't have the right to Italy. But we Jews, it says so in the Bible. Master of the world says, there is a piece of land that belongs to you. So we deserve more than Romanians deserve Romania. And yet, nobody is attacking Romanians for living in Romania. Mm-hmm. Nobody is attacking the Norwegians. How come you live in Norway? You don't belong there. And yet, there are people who still deny us a tiny piece of land called Israel. Mm. So this is clearly anti-Semitism.
Right. This weekend, we're at a conference Bridges for Peace is putting on in a church, in Hillcrest Church. And Rabbi, last night was a very moving ceremony. There was a theater done. A Corrie ten Boom was acted out, who was a Christian family that took Jewish families during the Holocaust and hid them and saved 800 lives. And that, we saw that last night. And a lot of other banner parades, and just a very touching ceremony. Afterwards, I got to speak to some of the Jewish congregants that had come. And many of them were in tears. They were highly emotional. Here they are in a church with their Christian brethren under one roof here watching this. But I could also see that some of them were confused talking to them. They didn't know how to process this event. The Christian community reaching out to have an Israel awareness celebration is what this is. They were confused. They were touched, they were warmed, and they were confused. Can you shed some light?
This is a very crucial question, very important one. The Christian community sometimes is confused. They don't understand why the Jews are a little bit cautious and nervous about churches, about Christians supporting Israel. I, as a rabbi, have been speaking up on this issue for many years, but Christian people have to understand the history. Our grandparents in Eastern Europe used to cross the street when they saw a cross, when they saw a church. To Christians, the cross represents love. To our grandparents, the cross represented rape and murder. Most of the pogroms, massacres, took place around Easter time, when the priests would stand up and say, kill the Jews, save Mother Russia. So for thousands of years, Christianity represented death and danger to us. So until now, and even in America, in the freest country in the world, where Christians love us. I mean, there is a lot of intermarriage in America. It's one of the serious issues that a rabbi has to deal with. Christians want to marry us. 100 years ago, Christians want to kill us. The fact is that it will take time. But I think events like this one, and churches like this one, where the pastors are proud to stand up and have Israeli flags all over this church, it's incredible. I believe that the time will come when all of these issues will disappear, where in fact, I would like to speak in more churches, and I would like to invite more pastors and ministers to speak in my synagogue. I think we need to start speaking the same language. Yes. Some Christians are nervous. How do you speak to a Jew, a rabbi? A lot of people came over, shook my hands. May I shake your hand? They've never seen a rabbi. In Texas, in Dallas. There are thousands of Jews living here. Yes. There are 5 synagogues within 1 mile away from here. But we need to get to know each other. we need to realize that we have so much in common, that you don't have a better friend than the Jewish community, and we don't have a better friend than the serious Christians.
That's right.
Because America is in danger, the world is in danger, and we have to work together.
And right now, the radical Islam that we've seen its head rise and strike, what they quote is first the Saturday people, then the Sunday people.
That's right.
First the Jewish people, then the Christian community. The battle is the same for both.
I think radical Islam is a major problem, but even if, let's say, that for another 10, 20 years, Islam is not going to take over America, I still believe that we have other enemies. We have the secularism, apathy, what young people are into these days, what's happening on college campuses. I'm frightened when I speak on campuses, what people are being taught there. These brilliant, so-called brilliant PhDs, they're brainwashing our children. They're confusing our people. There is a lot of apathy, and what's coming out of Hollywood, what's on TV, on the computer games. I mean, it's a war. I suspect 50 years ago it was easier to raise a normal child right here in Texas. I was just talking at lunch to somebody who says, I'm scared. Raising my children here in Dallas, Texas is a serious danger, because the malls and the clubs and the television is not teaching them good values.
Sure, that's right.
So I believe, again, Jews and Christians must work together. Carefully. We don't want to be standing on every corner and scare people. And again, we have to watch for radicalism. But I do believe that we have similar goals in so many ways.
Rabbi, in the last question, the last few minutes we have here, this conference that we're attending right now is titled Israel, Chief Among Nations. And it just seems like almost an oxymoron as you read the papers, look in the world. Everyone wants to divide Israel up, push her into the sea, get rid of her. But the name of this conference is Israel, Chief Among Nations. So I hear Jewish people talking, in the word, the Christians, it's in the Torah, they're the chosen people. And some of the chosen people are saying, choose someone else, Lord. We're tired of being persecuted, if you know what I'm saying. Is there some hope you can give maybe to the secular Jewish community that God does have a plan for Israel, and they are chief among nations, even though the world doesn't give her that credit yet?
It's a tough one. As a believer, I do believe in the Torah. I do believe that God has a plan for us. But for a secular Jew, all I have to say is study history. Anybody who would open just a basic book on Jewish history will have to say that I have to be an optimist. We have gone through so much. I know that sometimes it seems so gloomy, that there is no way out. And it's been tough. The last 3 years were very, very difficult for the Jewish people, both in Israel, and look what's going on in Europe. I mean, Jews are scared to walk around Paris with yarmulkes. Rabbis have been attacked and killed and murdered and so on. Still, if you look through history, and I'm not even talking about the Holocaust, even way before the Holocaust, one of the things that I've been saying here at this conference, there was a Khmelnytsky massacre, 1648. 1/3 of the Jewish people were wiped out. Murderous, viciousness. We are still here. Who remembers Khmelnytsky? The Roman Empire. Who could have thought? I mean, we stood up. We're still here. And they're gone. I can go on and on and on. Empires. I mean, Babylonian Empire. It was much more powerful than America. Much more powerful than British Empire. Where are they? They're gone. We're still here. And I'm a perfect example. The Soviet Union, the superpower, they could have destroyed the world 10 times over. Where are they? They are gone. And I'm still here. We're still here. A few years ago, I went back to Moscow State University, which in my days would not allow me to walk into the building. A few years ago, I was a visiting professor of Judaic studies, walking around with my yarmulke, teaching Torah and Talmud in Moscow. So whether you're secular or religious, if you look at history, you have to say, wow, the Jewish people are here to stay. Anti-Semites will disappear. I promise you, nobody will remember the name of Osama bin Laden 20 years from now. Saddam Hussein will disappear from history books. But Jewish kids will still study the same Torah, do bar mitzvahs, celebrate the same Passover and Hanukkah.
Rabbi, and I heard it maybe preached by a rabbi that the name Israel is the only country that has the name of God in it, El.
Correct.
So if you mess with Israel, you're messing with God. If you mess with the Jewish people, you're messing with God. Well, we're out of time, but we sure appreciate you spending some time with us, Rabbi.
Thank you very much.
And make music to your name, O God Most High, to proclaim your love and faithfulness all the day and through the night. La la la, la 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 trees of Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai, that to live forevermore. La la la, la 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 la
Join Mitch and Rosalie as they reach an ever-growing worldwide audience through the crossover. We invite you to become a crossover partner right now by calling the number on your screen. For your monthly gift of $30 or more, you will receive the Crossover Partnership Pack, which includes a DVD of today's program, a personal greeting and prayer message from Mitch and Rosalie, more information about the Crossover Project. As you continue to support the Crossover each month, you will receive a new Crossover DVD, a monthly ministry report, and your name will be added to the Healing Room. Call now or log on to our website and join the growing family of Crossover Partners. And be sure to join us again next week as Mitch and Rosalie tackle timely topics and welcome dynamic guests on The Crossover.
Lord God of Abraham, Isaac and Israel, let it be known today that you are God.